Epilogues, extras and epilogues open the theater. Lights, cameras, action. Movies and reviews, things you might not have known. What happens when the credits roll? Let's get on with the show.
In a version of 1985, hey, that's a great year, where superheroes exist, the murder of a colleague sends active vigilante Rorschach on the trail of a conspiracy that will change the course of history. Welcome back to the theaters, ladies and gentlemen. This is Extras and Epilogues right here on Podzol 1985, and tonight we're following up that Avengers review with something that I'm sure that I know in the bottom of my heart will be just as good. Man, Hunter, that week just flew by.
It was so fast.
Can you believe that thing with Trump happened? We'll talk more.
Crazy.
We'll talk more about it this Thursday on After Dark. That'll time-proof us there. My name's Shannon Young. Theater's open. We're watching Watchmen, is what I'm trying to say. This is my co-host for the evening, Double H. Sorry, we just did this. I'm going through the same plot again. It's like this is a fucking reboot of an episode we just did, except the reboot's worse.
I was going to try to do the voice, and I don't know if I can. Rorschach's Journal, October 12th, 1985. Tonight, a comedian died in New York.
I like that opening line. I like this movie, though. Look, we'll talk about it. The one thing that they never explained, I don't think, tell me if I'm wrong, I don't even think they explained it in the book. Because they kind of have yes. Do they ever explain that? Because it's really cool. It's a great effect. Like, it's done very well. Sure. But I never understood the mask.
Makes no sense.
Makes no sense at all. And they try to make sense out of everything else. Sense. You know, they at least try to explain it. Anyway, we're doing Watchmen. We just did Avengers literally like an hour ago. We're filming this back to back, obviously, because one of us is going to be out of town next week. So we'll have a couple different things going. But we had such a great time with Avengers. And about the time we reviewed Iron Man yesterday, and Hunter reminded me, hey, we've got to record both of those Zack Snyder directed 4-hour superhero films that you want to watch for the end of the week. Yeah. Following up two of my favorite comic book films of all time, I started to feel a little pressure. And I thought, let's not watch the super long Ultimate Cut version, which I watched recently, probably like 2 or 3 months ago. And we'll say I do like that version better after watching this one today. It is a better version, but only if you like what you see. You know, if you don't like Watchmen, you're not going to go, well, this redeems the whole thing. But if you like the stuff that they're doing, it's the best version. We're going to be doing the regular version. So this was the standard theatrical version. This isn't even the director's cut because you can't even find that one anymore. So with that said, let's just jump into it. Release. Sorry, March 6th, 2009. So this is how we swapped this and Avengers, right?
Correct. Yeah, Avengers came out in 2012. This is a few years before that, but it is 1 year after Iron Man. Basically. Right. That's the easiest way to remember it. It's almost 1 year after Iron Man.
So this movie was both a response to and a cautionary tale for future films like the Avengers. And that's not just, in terms of box office ratings, obviously. It is directed by Zack Snyder, who also did Dawn of the Dead, 300, Man of Steel, Army of the Dead, pretty much any film where people go in slow motion for about 40% of the time. Snyder is one of those directors that you either like or you don't. And I like him for the most part, but it's like...
And I don't.
Right. It would be on a scale of 1 to 5, it's 1 thumb up for me with him as a whole. I like most of his films. I thought Dawn of the Dead was very, very good. I know that's the one that everyone kind of goes, yeah, that's the best one. But I like his movies. I like them a lot. But that Army of the Dead, the sequel to Dawn of the Dead, spiritually kind of, oh my God, that thing was like 3 hours long. It was so boring. Dave Bautista dies in the end. Sorry if I ruined that for anybody. And I remember I hated the girl that played his daughter. I was like, I hope I never see her again. And who does she turn out to be? Ella Purnell from Fallout.
Yep.
So glad I was wrong on that one. Glad I was wrong on that one. Yeah, you're not a Snyder fan? Because I mean, there's two camps, man. There's two camps.
Really not.
Yeah.
I think I used to be. I think there's a part of me that
Dawn of the Dead,
because I really like Dawn of the Dead as well, and I was one of the few people, and my wife too, and that's why I felt validated in it. Who liked Sucker Punch when it came out? Right. We were kind of into the whole like idea of Sucker Punch. It was one of those things that a couple years later I went, oh yeah, I don't know that I liked that as much as I thought I did. And then I started seeing other things he did. Oh, and 300, back
300 was really good.
300 again at that time in my life, I was like, boy, this is really good.
Yeah.
As I got older, I started revisiting these movies, and I went, I don't think I like these as much as I thought I did. Man of Steel was kind of the tipping point where I went, oh,
I need to watch that one.
It's the meme of the guy going, this fucking sucks, actually. Like that's when I went, I don't think I can do it anymore.
And again, Zack Snyder, great with Dawn of the Dead. It's very, very good. I think everyone can pretty much agree that one is like the best of the best right there. I'm glad you have seen Whedon's version of the Justice League, because it's very different from the Zack Snyder version, and I'm hoping that you like the Snyder version more than the Whedon one, not because of any like contest type thing. I just want I want someone to say, yeah, you were right, that was better. I just I just need that validation in something in life.
I mean, for what it's worth, yes, I have seen the Joss Whedon version of Justice League. It was not long after it came out. So
Snyder hated it.
Oh, I know. Well, no, apparently he never saw it. That's in the trivia, if I remember correctly. In the trivia for that one, I think it's the only thing I wrote down. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself because that's the other one. But according to director Zack Snyder, this version of the film contains nothing filmed by Joss Whedon for the theatrical release. Snyder has never seen the other version under instruction by both his wife and director Christopher Nolan that he shouldn't, as it would quote unquote break his heart. Apparently, the theatrical version uses less than 10% of what's in the
it's like watching a whole different movie. It's like watching a whole different movie, and the sad thing about,
I feel like I'm not going to know the difference.
I think if you had watched them back to back, exactly. Yeah, if you'd watched them back to back, but no. So I hope you like what you see. There's two versions. We'll talk about this later. We'll talk about it right now.
It's fine.
Forgot what the hell we were talking about at this point. We rambled on. Zack Snyder. We're still talking about Zack Snyder.
Yeah, we were on writers.
Jesus Christ. He also did that stupid Rebel Moon where they tried to pitch Star Wars, but with nudity and shit, and it failed horribly. Yeah, it's bad. Anyway, written by David Hayter, not that one, who also did X-Men, X2, and the Scorpion King, and Alice Say.
I'm gonna say C. It's probably pronounced C. Yeah, TSE is his last name.
Who did Superfly and Gran Turismo? I've never seen Gran Turismo. I've heard it's actually pretty good, but I've never watched it. I hate the Scorpion King. I don't know if I've ever said that.
It's bad.
It's not good at all.
Real bad.
Yeah.
No.
Starring Jackie Earle Haley, who was both the best and worst pick they could have done for Rorschach, because he looks like the character. I mean, man, when I think of Rorschach, I see him and he does a fantastic job. But the problem is, it's the wrestling turn. When you have someone do such a good job as a bad guy, sometimes they will become the good guy. And people look at Rorschach as a hero, even though the film tells you it's like Joker. You tell me the Joker's bad, but then you give him things that make him look like he's the good guy.
Cool and fun. Rorschach is racist. We'll get into it later. It's fine.
Yeah, because I actually have a defense of Rorschach a little bit. Not too much. Patrick Wilson as Night Owl 2. Malin Ackerman as Silk Spectre. She's the worst actor in the film. By the way, she's not terrible.
She gives the worst performance. Yes, I don't know if I can accurately say she's the worst actor, but she absolutely gives the worst performance. And part of that is that she had a bunch of scenes cut. So I guess maybe that changes in one of the other versions.
It is. Yeah, they give her
more.
But
also part of it is who's directing her? Like, what are they telling her to do? Because Malin Ackerman is a much better actor than this.
She's very good.
And she just looks like it's like watching a mannequin come to life. Like what is happening?
Some of it's
the whole movie.
Some of it's the dialogue. There's parts of the dialogue where she'll say something, and it's like that line from Avengers that I mentioned. The whole Maria Hill saying, "Sir, if the Hulk gets loose, he'll destroy everything." Yeah. And it's like, no shit. You don't have to say that. She has lines like that in this film. Or it's like Dr. Manhattan, you must stop the nuclear explosion or we'll all die. Oh yeah, I assume that's what happens with nuclear explosions. Yeah. Hey,
you come up with that one all on your own, or
speaking of Dr. Manhattan, Billy Crudup as Dr. Manhattan, and this may be somewhere we disagree. I really liked him as Dr. Manhattan. I thought he was great. Thought he was fantastic. I loved his tone of voice. And again, we disagreed on this already. We talked about this off screen. Yeah. I really liked the way they did his voice and his attitude. You thought it was too emotionless. What did you think of the sequence where he turned? Because that's one of my favorite parts. Like, very well done and scary. Again, it's very horror movie like.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a great sequence just in general. But this is what I was saying to you earlier. In the book and in the film, it's a great sequence in general. But in the book, they make a really definitive point to mention that the only thing that keeps him together is his humanity. That he strives to remain himself, basically, and then quite literally is able to do that. That's how he pulls himself back together. It's not that he's like reborn as this otherworldly entity. He's still technically human when he comes back together. He's just the most like unhuman human that they can be. So the book does a much better job of making him feel human, and I felt like he should sound more human in and around that stuff. The movie, I think, is so unwilling to play in shades of gray, which is so funny because so much of the color palette is just gray as shit. It's so unwilling to do that it feels like he only ever is, he's a human and then he's not human. And then there's all these characters that will tell you, right, there's all these characters that will tell you that, he's lost his humanity. He no longer, is in and around his humanity. And now I'm getting ahead of myself, but like, then why does he care about having given people cancer? Because that's a human thing. That's what the point of it is supposed to be.
So the way I took that whole thing was he didn't really care when they told him the first two.
Why did he leave?
Well, because they mentioned the third one, his ex-girlfriend. He still kept her picture with him, even as Dr. Manhattan. I think he loved her so much and felt guilty about the way it ended when he went with the younger girl and she left. I think he felt so guilty about her that when they said her name, that's when his eyes kind of flutter and he says her name. And Adrian calls it out at the end too. He said to other people, they might not notice, your facial movements, but to me it was so telling, or whatever he said that way. But yeah,
it bothered me that it feels like the movie, this is a very Ghostbusters 2016 thing. It wants it two ways. It wants you to believe that he is this non-human entity who was human, who's not anymore, who's lost his touch with humanity. But also at the same time, here are all these times where he's very human, and the plot is critical upon the fact that he has these human emotions and feelings and acts like a human. It's contradictory in a way that it isn't in the book. And we'll talk about that when we talk about the ending, because that's the biggest difference.
Sure. But we haven't even got to the movie yet. We're still talking about the people. Let's just keep going with the people and then we'll get to the film. Otherwise this will be another 3-hour episode. And God, yes. I don't want that. No. Just off the top of my head, because it's a great cast. God,
Jeffrey Dean
Morgan, obviously, as the comedian. Very imposing. I've never seen him that big before. I never realized how the dude's built like a wrestler. Matt Frewer as Moloch. And then I can never remember Stephen McHattie. Is that who plays the original Night Owl? I'm almost positive. He's great. He's great in everything I've ever seen him in. I love him as an actor. He's absolutely spectacular. He was also
Stephen McHattie.
He was also in Pontypool, which is one of my favorite horror films, and Beverly Hills Cop 3, which is just cool because it's Beverly Hills Cop 3, and others. I forget the guy that plays Adrian Veidt. Matthew.
Oh, I do too.
Matthew something. I've only ever seen him in two things. The other was that movie with the little girl that turns out to be Dracula's daughter. Yeah, he was Dracula at the end.
Yeah, what's that called? Yeah, it's Matthew Good is his name. What is that movie called? Not Stoker.
No, it was a very good film. It was a lot of fun.
Abigail.
Yeah.
Yeah, one too many false endings, but otherwise it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Abigail. And then other people. There's other great people in this too. We're not gonna. Oh, fucking Carla Gugino as her mother, the original. Yep. Yeah, I'm not gonna play this game. Runtime of 162 minutes. It is long, and if you watch the director's cut like I do, it's even longer. And if you watch Justice League that we're doing tomorrow, it's even longer. Budget.
I mean, at least the ultimate cut for this has a reason to exist because it inserts the Black Freighter, Tales from Black Freighter comic book, all that stuff that's cut from.
And 20 minutes of character backstory and scenes with the characters, kind of establishing them. Yeah.
But also, importantly, and this is spoilers for a very old book at this point, 40-something-year-old book. Oh God. Anyway,
just stop it.
We gotta move past it.
We can outrun time.
Issue in the Black Freighter comic book, existing in the original one, is that it's written by someone who is involved in Veidt's plot in the book that they changed for the movie.
Right.
So it doesn't make as much sense to reinsert it into the movie because it's all well and good that it like kind of follows the idea of what's going on. But in the book, there's a reason for that to be the case. In the movie, it's just a quirk. It's just very similar to things that are happening in the real world. Well,
and one thing I'd always read, and I almost wanted to look it up for the trivia, but apparently Gerard Butler was supposed to be in the film, and either his scenes got cut or something happened where he couldn't do it. And after the movie came out, they decided to do this animated one and had him voice the main character almost as a, hey, we're sorry that got screwed up. Would you like to do this? And I always thought that was part of why they put it back in there is they wanted to put Gerard Butler back into it because he wanted to be in it so badly.
Sure.
The Black Freighter stuff's cool. I mean, it's a zombie story. It's the ghost pirates. It's cool, but it does nothing for the plot other than the scenes where in the director's cut of it and the ultimate cut, the newsstand guy and the young teen talk to each other constantly through and bicker, and he's always reading that comic, and they get I forgot how much they got cut out of this one. They're literally just in the final scene hugging each other. That's all they get. It's very, very different version of it. Budget versus box office, $150 million versus $187 million. Like I said, this is a cautionary tale of who's your audience, what did you make, and you sure about that? Critical reception, that's a professional term, by the way. Critical reception, 65% critical rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That's a 6.4 out of 10. Metacritic score of 56 out of 100, which is mixed or average. Cinema score of B on an 8F scale, and 4 out of 4 stars from Roger Ebert, who said it was a, quote, compelling, visceral film, sound, images, and characters combined into a decidedly odd visual experience that evokes the feel of a graphic novel. So what is the movie about? It is based on the Alan Moore comic. And regardless of saying, well, we're going to hold it to its own merit, you can't help but compare it to the comic and the source material. I did it with Jurassic Park because I had actually read that book and I really wanted to impress you. So you're going to hear like that, I can read. So you're probably going to hear some comparisons on here. But basically, the comedian dies. There's a big investigation into who killed him. And that's really selling it short because these characters are all very, very interesting in their own right. It's an alternate timeline where Batman is a character because you see his comics in the background and parts of it, but these guys are real heroes. They're real people that don costumes, even though none of them have any powers except for Dr. Manhattan. They're all just normal people who just fight really well. And it's the kind of their backstory. It's the whole murder of the comedian, and then also there's the backdrop of the nuclear war between America and foreign countries. It's a lot. Soviet Union. It's a lot, and I love political movies that have real stuff in it in superheroes. That's why I liked First Class and Days of Future Past so much. They kind of tied that stuff together. Those historical type films, and that's it. So. Let's talk about the movie. First off, it's directed by Zack Snyder.
How could you tell?
This is the most Snyderiest Snyder film, man. And the things that I say is not me necessarily condemning nor condoning it. I'm going to quote backwards old Dr. Manhattan at the end there. This has every one of his signatures. The visual. I didn't realize there was a Zack Snyder visual style until I watched this movie, and that Rebel Moon came out, and I went, man, that looks like that other film. And then I went, oh, they all look like that.
Yep.
Slow
motion shots.
Yes.
Gratuitous violence.
Yes.
In slow motion often.
Yep.
Overwrought sound design, which is not a visual cue, but boy, the sound design in this movie is a series of choices. Like, I don't know if you noticed it. I noticed it from the get-go in the opening fight with the comedian and, you know, it's fight, of course, we find out later, but spoiler alert.
I think they've gotten past
between them. the sound design of everything from the knife moving through the air to like the actual punches and kicks landing on each other and stuff, it just seems like Snyder went into the sound editing booth and went, this is all really good. What if it was about 50% louder? What if it was just so loud that it was cartoonish? And they went, well, we can do that. And he's like, yeah, it's done. Do it. Get out of here.
It's you can't go back on that. I think it was supposed to evoke the feeling of a comic book in some ways, in the same way that
I'm sure that was the
did
idea.
It visually, right? But no, I wouldn't say he landed it myself. I honestly hadn't thought much of the audio design, because I will say, visually, whether you like the directing or not, you know, in the sense of the way he motions his films, all of the slow motion, etc., etc. I thought the movie is visually very good looking. I love the dreary, rain-soaked noir atmosphere. It really does set a tone, I feel like.
It does, and I get why you like it, and I'm not saying you shouldn't. I don't like it, and here's why.
Sure.
One of the things I really like about the graphic novel, and again, yeah, I'm going to be making comparisons, it's just going to happen, is that it is this heavy deconstruction of superheroes and of comic books in general. Like this whole idea that everything turns out for the better. It's melodrama. People who are good, people who are bad. This is basically this turning that on its head. Long before the boys ever said, what if superheroes were shitheads? This series did a good job of basically going, okay, they don't have to be assholes, but what if they're not all as good as we've made them out to be? So one of the things I really like about it is that because it was the 80s, even though Batman is starting to get darker at that time, the guys who did this book, Alan Moore and I forget the visual, Alan Moore wrote it. I can't remember who drew it. Grant, maybe? Anyway, it looks like a classic comic, and it's pretty bright visually, and there's
very colorful.
I mean, again, the big change for the final sequence, instead of, you know, a Dr. Manhattan explosion that's just movie theater blue, you know, that blue and orange they put into everything, it's this huge, like, brightly colored squid monster thing, which again we'll talk about later, but it's like vibrant pinks and greens and yellows, and like it's weird, and yet at the same time it makes perfect sense for the medium. Now I get that we are changing mediums, right? This is a film, it's not a comic book, so it's not going to look the same way even if you put it on the screen. If you put the same color on a movie projector screen versus, you know, in a text, it's just not going to be the same.
Plus,
but part of me really wanted it to just have some more color to it than just, again, constant dreariness. I get that they're trying to evoke a mood, but I don't know, man.
Well, not just the mood, but I think part of it is also that the Moore comic came out in the 80s, right? If I remember correctly, like mid to late 80s.
Yes.
Remember correctly? Yep. Where the whole big color scheme was big. It was in, right? Everything was colorful. The old Batman comics were colorful. By 2009, when this comes out, superhero movies, I mean, look at the X-Men. They replaced the blues and yellows with black leather. You know, they're taking away all of that visual flair that we love from comic books. And I think it's just a sign of the times. And that's not a defense. That's just my reasoning.
Right. That's the problem. It's the reason without being a defense of it. Because that to me is the problem, is that it's also a Zack Snyder move. He loves a muted color palette. He loves a darker, you know, see, and sometimes that works in this movie. There are times where you need it to look that way. But I would have loved this to have been, in that sense, more like the source material than like the movies of the time. It's also why I think we get a lot of those like slow motion fight sequences and multiple heroes like beating up multiple people. I think you get that because that's what superhero movies are like in 2009, not because that's what The Watchmen is supposed to be like from the time it was written. And again, I think that's to its detriment. I think it takes away from it.
This was not in my edgy time period, but I was in an anti-hero kind of hero mood at this point. I was more Punisher than those kind of things. So the tones and vibes of this definitely spoke to me more than the comic did. I like the comic. spoiler alert, this is like the Aladdin argument we have. I like the movie better than the comic. I think the comic's fine, but I really love the movie. I like the dulled tones and darker feel to it because it's such a contrast to what we were seeing in most other superhero films, like the Marvel stuff, which was always very bright and rich. Other than Batman. Batman was also kind of the same way with the dark side to it, and I think Batman does it better, obviously, because Gotham is a better place than what we're getting here. But yeah. But that's
and I should be
part
clear,
of it.
I also really liked this movie when it came out. I owned it for a brief period of time, but 2009 I was 24.
Yeah,
I'm 41 now, and I really haven't seen it much since then. And I can tell that I am a different person now than I was when I saw this at that time. I wouldn't say I was edgy at that time, but I was into this whole genre as a whole. And so again, this did what The Boys would do for a lot of people in a later generation in a different way at that time of, okay, but what if superheroes were bad? I know it's not that simple. Like, it's a much better version of that story, but I think the movie's trying to be a simpler version of it.
And it's dark as hell too. I mean, like, just the beginning, personal thing, I love the beginning, the opening shots of where they're showing the old heroes and what happened to them.
My favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
The opening credits are my favorite part of the whole movie.
But you find out later, a lot of those heroes, how they died. You know, one's in a mental institution. One was literally murdered because she was gay. You know, and it's such an accurate representation of
which
the
Rorschach
kind of thoughts.
defends.
Yeah, again, Rorschach is horrible, and no one in this movie ever says that he's a good guy or that it's not like when they try to redeem Wolverine and make him a little bit more personable. No, Rorschach sucks through this entire movie. He's racist. He's ultra violent.
But Dan defends him all the time.
Yeah, because Dan's an idiot too.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's the one part in the film where Rorschach offers him his hand and says, you know, basically, I know it's difficult to be my friend, but you are a good friend. Sure. But Rorschach is a terrible, terrible character. I just think he's so interesting, more so than anybody else in the film, that you naturally gravitate to him. Plus, he doesn't do anything that makes you dislike him. He murders criminals. He murders child molesters. He's doing all the things that, especially for people who like anti-heroes, they like their superheroes to be more violent. He's doing everything you want him to do. I guess it's like the Trump presidency. He's doing the things you want him to do. You just have to ignore who he is. Well, shit, maybe I'm a Republican.
I mean, oh God. So I found this thing earlier today because I was trying to figure out how I wanted to phrase my thoughts on some of this. And I hate to just read from somebody else's thoughts, but there was definitely a time where I read this and went, oh, this sums up a lot of what I wanted to say pretty well. So I'm just going to give you something here. As someone was kind of doing not a takedown, but just basically just an explanation of like, here are some things that were problematic. So
I was unaware of this evidence, Your Honor. I would like this stricken.
Talking about Rorschach specifically, it says they talk about outright that Rorschach is basically supposed to be a condemnation of the kind of black and white extremism that leads to vigilantism. He's not supposed to be admirable. The entire point of Rorschach is that his self-righteous black and white worldview basically destroys the peace that's brought on by Ozymandias' deception. When that journal of his goes into the tabloids, global outrage and a resumption of hostilities will inevitably be the result. The whole point is that we have to accept a certain amount of self-deception in order to avoid killing ourselves and each other. And his inconsistent and selfish ethical code, because deception's okay when he does it, but it's not okay for anybody else, is destructive, and it's also self-destructive. In the book, they keep reminding us this guy is unstable, childish, sociopathic, and delusional. But then on the screen, like you said, he's painted as this anti-hero, and it's like, but he's not, man. Okay, you just said that he's killing people who, they do a lot of bad things. We don't let the cops get away with that, and they're supposed to be the ones doing that job.
I also want to say that in terms of they say it in the book, I didn't need anyone to explain to me that this dude was crazy. Just listening to him talk, I think you can make all the assumptions that there's something wrong with him, that he's not playing with a full deck. Right. And he is a terrible person with one pretty good trait, that he at least is honest to a fault, I guess. The problem is that Jackie Earle Haley plays him so well, and he makes him so interesting to watch. You like him even though you're not supposed to. It's like watching The Rock when he was a bad guy. well, but I can't stop watching him. You know, he's so
Sure,
mesmerizing.
and that's actually a really good comparison for what I was going to tack on there, because it makes it seem like, oh man, they just did a really good job casting and it is what it is. No. The other part of the problem is that Zack Snyder wants him to be viewed as this really cool guy who's really interesting to watch. And I put that shit on him the same way I put it on WWE, who cast a guy as charismatic as The Rock as a bad guy. That was never going to last for any extended period of time. It's not all completely on the actor. It's also on the person who's in charge of it. And this, again, is where I go, we're coming back to Zack Snyder. This is the guy who was framing the movie up the way that he is.
But it also falls on the people watching it, because if you're not racist and you're not kind of an idiot, you're not going to watch Rorschach and go, man, that dude's cool, because yeah, he does do cool looking things and he has some cool parts, but you still know what a terrible person he is. I mean, the bad guys all the time do things that look really cool in film, and it doesn't change the way we feel about that character. I think a character like this really kind of speaks to the person watching it too. So people that are probably very happy these days, you know. I don't
disagree with that. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And again,
I'm not disagreeing.
Nothing I'm saying, by the way, I don't know if it comes across this way. Nothing I'm saying is to defend this film. I just, I also would like to give context to what I think. Yeah.
I just ultimately, like, while you're not wrong that yes, it's on the responsible viewer to do the thing and be aware of what they're getting into. There's also something to be said for, you know, how much are we putting on? Well, it's art and it's my interpretation and it's how I chose to do that, versus, again, the book makes it pretty damn clear Rorschach is not meant to be treated as an anti-hero or a good guy, and the movie makes it significantly less clear. Like, when I watched this when I was 24, I didn't catch all the references to him saying that, like, the lesbian hero deserved to get murdered for the lifestyle that she was living, or I wrote it down because I did get a few notes for this one, when he says that about, you know, that whole line that people love about all the people that'll look up at him and scream save us and I'll whisper no. Two of those groups of people are all the liberals and intellectuals.
Yeah. Well, he says throughout the movie.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, yeah. No. Throughout the film, I caught it the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, this dude is a straight up, just like what we now know as a MAGA. This was MAGA pre-MAGA. Throughout the film, they talk about that. He talks about people deserving what they get because of their choice of lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. He was also abused by his mother, who was having sexual relations right in front of him. So yeah, Rorschach is fucked up. It's the reason that, you know, when he gets his mask taken away, he starts yelling, "Where's my face?" He's not a good character, but he's an interesting character. And he's way more interesting than anybody else in this movie, other than Dr. Manhattan, because, I mean, I just love Dr. Manhattan. That dude, the fact that he has to wear a thong sometimes, but it's full penis the other times, always makes me laugh. Anyway.
I love that that's the moment to go to on that. Yeah, I mean, we said it earlier.
Well, like, why?
I got nothing against Billy Crudup.
Why a thong? No, let's go back to this for a second. If you can,
I think it's okay. You want my real take on it?
I do.
Think it's government interference.
Oh, I do too.
I think the number of times that the number of times that you see that happen, it's after he starts working with the American government.
They tell him to put that on, like, especially the Vietnam scenes, right? But like,
yes,
if you are basically a god, because that's what he is, he's basically a god, and you could look like anything, why just put a little pair of thong boxers on, briefs on? Like, make you look like giant mecha Dr. Manhattan. You look like a literal god walking through there. But I think that ties back to his basic humanities and stuff. Yeah, and he knows everybody else is beneath him, so why impress them? He literally put on the bare minimum that he had to please the government, so they would leave him alone, basically. I think that's a character trait. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Doc. He also comes back jacked as hell too.
Yeah, of course he does. When he comes back, he looks so. There's some little bit of I don't know, man. I wrote this down at one point in time. Let me see if I still have it here, because it was that humanity thing that I mentioned at one point in time. The movie keeps telling us that he, you know, oh, there it is. The movie can't just keep telling us that Dr. Manhattan is no longer human or feels human or whatever without ever getting into why. And you can definitely take a lot away from, you know, the fact that he has these powers, the fact that he isn't literally, you know, human in the sense that he seemed to be anymore. But it seems like it's that thing we were just talking about. At any given point in time, it's like the Hulk. At any given point in time, Dr. Manhattan is or is not as human as the plot needs him to be. Like, if they need him to feel inhuman, then he is. And if they need him to feel more human, then he is.
This is going to sound so stupid, so just bear with me on this one. I love the entire Dr. Manhattan plot of the film. I mean, I think he's my favorite character in the entire film. I've quoted a lot of his stuff because he has some pretty quotable lines in this film. I appreciate the sadness in it. And to me, and it's going to sound so stupid, to me, as someone that has kind of spoken when they're falling apart completely, like from the inside out, I could hear in the voice this just like very low sadness. I don't know how to describe it correctly. It's monotone, but there's a trembling. Yeah, there's just a trembling of humanity in it. And I thought that fit him so well because he seems like someone who is literally losing in touch with his humanity. As he grows more than a human would ever be, he starts to understand them less and less. She says at one point he's forgetting things, basic things. You see him hold her bra up and kind of look at it. He's so above us that
I'm gonna come back to that.
He's so above us that he doesn't, think about us anymore, but only specifically the two women are the only times he ever really shows any kind of reaction. And I think that goes back to the whole human spirit and love or something, but I don't know about that. That's just a guess.
Now, see, here's where I'm looking at it from the exact same thing she just said, but I'm looking at it from a different perspective. I think what you just said shows exactly the problem with the movie and exactly the problem with Zack Snyder as the director. Because you're talking about that scene where he holds up the bra as Silk Spectre is saying he's starting to forget what's important and it's only ever about women. Zack Snyder himself very much said that he only read comics for violence and sex. And it is so fucking clear in this movie that that's all he understands about this story. I saw somebody say along the way as I was looking at stuff today that this is maybe the clearest cut example of an adaptation that does not understand its source material. And it really is, in my opinion, because Watchmen looks like it's supposed to, in the sense that even, despite some color changes and all that, whatever, it is in a lot of ways, other than a couple of changes, basically filming the comic book. You could use the graphic novel as the panels, as the story panels for how they were going to set up shots and film the movie. But it doesn't feel like Zack Snyder understands what this story is really about and understands what's supposed to be happening, because these characters are just, again, it's why Malin Ackerman feels like such a just, mannequin throughout most of this movie. It's why, to me, it feels like they just shut off Dr. Manhattan's humanity when they need him to. It's just on or it's off at any given point in time. It's why Rorschach feels like a super cool anti-hero when the reality is he's a piece of shit. And he is interesting, but he should be an interesting piece of shit. Not interesting, he's doing the wrong thing, but he's doing it for the right reasons type guy. That's not the point. That's why you get, significantly long slow motion fight sequences in a fucking prison where we just were told that Night Owl and Silk Spectre are like past their prime, not ready for this, and they're just beating people up and killing them left and right, where in the book they fight like two guys and then they and Rorschach like slip out the back door as the prison riot goes on. It's not like let's beat the dog shit out of everyone in the prison and then just leave as to me, it is the most clear-cut example of the director doesn't get what he's doing. So you can film what's on the page and you can film the words that are on the page and the scenes, but he doesn't really understand the story that's being told. And that, I think, is what's coming through. That to tie it back to what you were talking about, because that's what brought me up from that. When Silk Spectre says that about he's losing his humanity, he doesn't understand what's important to us anymore. That's not directly in the book, but when those accusations are made, they're made by Dr. Manhattan himself. He's the one recognizing, I no longer understand what needs to be done here. I no longer understand what it's like to be these people, and maybe it's better I not be one of them. Instead of, as she says that, we see him looking at her bra like he forgot how sex works. Like, it's such just... Yeah,
he had to take a break.
It's so frustrating, man. It's so frustrating.
So I didn't read the book first, and I'm not comparing it to the book. As a film, as itself, I saw this first, and I guess the message of it never. I don't want to sound like Zach in the way he talks about how he doesn't care about plot. The message of it never bothered me. What I saw when I saw the film was just a adult superhero film. Like if I wanted to see Batman, but he could have sex, even though I still hate sex scenes. I don't care what movie it's in. I'm just gonna say
hate this one too.
I hate this one.
Hate this one.
Yeah, I do.
It's supposed to be awkward and very like they are unsure of themselves, and they do a version of that first. But when they actually do it on the ship, it's softcore.
It's just raw powered sex, baby.
Glistening bodies and like slow motion and the fucking fun. That flamethrower went off and I went, absolutely fuck yourself. That is the most Zack Snyder bro shit I've ever seen in my life.
That part of the film, more than anything, when we saw it with a certain somebody, I remember thinking more that we joke about the giant blue penis swinging and how disturbing that is. Mm-hmm. But I think that part was way more disturbing than any penis by Dr. Manhattan, because shit, I don't know. Maybe I'm a prude, because I was going to say, I don't mind the hardcore violence, the breaking of arms and stuff, because that's just, what if Batman could break a leg? But then that feels really unfair to say that while condemning, but I don't want to see nudity in my adult films, even though they do have sex in the comic too at some point. But this is gratuitous. I think but the violence is also gratuitous. So I'm going to shut the hell up.
It's gratuitous across the board.
Yeah, I'm just going to be quiet.
That, whether it bothered you or not is a personal preference, but the important thing is you're acknowledging.
It's absolutely gratuitous. Yeah, it's all gratuitous.
Both of them are gratuitous. Whether it bothered you or not is again, it's a personal choice, but it's important to acknowledge that it is gratuitous.
100%.
The sex and the violence, and that's not what this series was about. If you read Watchmen, or well, I can't say if you watched it because he's the one who filmed it, but if you read the source material, if that's what you wanted to put on the big screen, and it clearly was because you filmed it almost shot for shot in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Then you miss the point if the thing you want to focus on all the time is look at all the bones we can break, look at all the blood I can splatter, and look at all the breasts I can show.
The breasts I didn't care for.
And dicks, for that matter.
The dicks are I don't know, the breasts offended me more than the dicks, so I don't know what that says about me. What I like more about it this time, though, watching it, less so than the sex and violence, because it just doesn't bother me, but it also doesn't titillate me. You know what I mean? Like I can see him smashing arms, doesn't excite me. I see the very soft core porn sex scene, doesn't bother me, but I don't like it. Let me just say that. But what did intrigue me more this time, and this actually lowered my review a little bit, thinking about, and I'll explain why, was the political backdrop. And the reason I say that it lowers my review a little bit is because I think what they did in the film is very interesting. I love all the stuff with Kissinger and with Nixon, the whole threat of nuclear war. I actually like the movie ending better than the book, and we'll definitely talk about that here at the end. But a lot of what I like about that is better in the comic, and there are other films that maybe I just like history type thing. So I didn't think the movie version was as good as the source material. That's the one time I'll say that, the book was better. But the other stuff doesn't bother me. But I really like the political stuff, and I still do. I think that's interesting, and that's part of why I like the original ending less than the one we get in the film. But we'll talk about that at the end. We're 42 minutes in.
I'm going to say maybe we should do that before we do our reviews, because I think talking about this ending for me is contingent upon explaining my review. I mean, we can just give the reviews and then move right to the ending if you want to.
No, we can do this.
I'm going to have to talk about that ending if I'm going to talk about the review.
So the ending this is the biggest change in the film, because the original ending, like you said, the whole story was basically that. I'm going to try to do it justice. Tell me if I'm wrong. Adrian hired artists and scientists to create this design, this creature, which he then basically brought to life and dropped into New York to attack. And it's right during the height of like the nuclear threats between us and the Russia and other countries. Yes. And basically is done to unite the world against a common enemy. The film version, same concept, uniting him against a common enemy, but they changed it completely. Instead of it being the creature that drops on New York City, it's Dr. Manhattan himself is blamed for it, that his humanity has dropped so far and he cares so little for us, he would destroy us at any point. We all need to team up against him. So that's the biggest difference between the two. But the basic of it is that Adrian is the one that has concocted this theme. And there actually is a real big argument about which do you like better, movie or book. I I thought it was going to be way more one-sided than it is, but it's a pretty hot topic. So what did you hate about it?
All right. So once again, somebody beat me to explaining this thought better than I thought I could. They kind of covered it in a way that I think explains what I wanted to say, and it's already there, so I don't have to try to rattle it off. So bear with me here. I'll give you this. The squid monster is basically what they kind of colloquially call it, because it looks like this kind of weird squid tentacle, plant-like thing that he drops in the middle of New York City that teleports, and then it is silly looking. Right? It does look silly in the comic, and it will look silly if you put that exact thing up on the big screen. Here's the deal, though. The concept is solid in a way that the movie version is not. So, like you said, Ozymandias kidnaps an army of artists, engineers, writers, scientists. They make this fake alien. They're going to basically stage it as an alien invasion of Earth to draw everybody together. And this is what I was talking about earlier. It goes back to that plot point about the pirate comic, The Tales of the Black Freighter, that the kid is reading. It was written by one of the people who has gone missing, who is involved in this plot, who Adrian has hired to part of it. So Zack Snyder, in setting this up, for the record, was quoted as saying, "The squid is fucking stupid," which should be a red flag right out of the gate. For a guy who wants to do this thing right out of the gate, the fact that he wants to say it that way is already a problem. So
he is a problem.
Doing that, he goes instead of doing that, he goes with, like you said, they frame Dr. Manhattan for these attacks, and that because of his energy signature, we all have to come together against him. All right, first problem here. Even though we don't know anything about the alien, it's a physical thing that is dead by the time that the comic version of Laurie and Manhattan come back, as opposed to the film version where they come back and the devastation is just done. The thing is still there, but it's dead. It has died in this thing because it was never designed to live for a significant period of time. It was designed to just be plopped down there, cause some damage, and then basically die because it shouldn't exist in the first place. That kind of thing, you can understand how it would unite people because it is a neutral entity. We don't know where it came from. We don't know who was responsible for it, and we'll never know. And it can be killed. It's dead, right? So something killed it, and theoretically, if it ever comes back, we can band together and deal with it. On the other hand, if it's Dr. Manhattan, at the very beginning of the story, we're told that Dr. Manhattan is the reason the Cold War is still going on, because the Soviets consider him a U.S. weapon. That's why we keep getting those shots of him in Vietnam, right? Of doing the thing for the Americans and winning the war for him, essentially. And there's not going to be any peace talks until he's out of the way. So Ozymandias' plan is to remove him by playing on his big vulnerability of, the humanity, which again, supposedly he's lost touch with. The whole thing where he's convinced people that, and himself, that he has doomed people to incurable cancer because of the radiation. He leaves the planet, and that should be the end of it. But then Ozymandias frames him as being the problem. So then all that's really going to do is amp up the existing status quo. It's going to go right back to where we were. What he wanted to happen was to unite people against a common neutral enemy. So in the graphic novel, the last scene shows that this basically happened, right? There's Russian fusion food in New York. And then Rorschach's journal, when it gets discovered, is going to threaten to tear all that down because people are going to find out that Ozymandias, was the one who set all this stuff up. But that works. In the movie version, if his hoax just validates and exacerbates the concerns that the Soviets have about Dr. Manhattan being a threat, then how does proving that he was a threat suddenly make people unified? Rorschach's journal is just going to reveal that the real threat was a different vigilante who's now at large, so why does that change anything? The comic version of it gives us, again, a neutral enemy that we know can die. Why would Dr. Manhattan attacking America and Richard Nixon going on TV and saying we all have to come together to prevent this from happening convince anyone from the Soviet Union to go, you know what, that guy who's been trying to kill us with that same guy is right? And they have no known way of killing Dr. Manhattan or stopping him.
So I'll cut in here. I'm tired of the slander.
Well, that's mostly it.
That's something I'm 100% going to give you at the end there, because as you were talking, I was writing notes because I'm very tired and my head hurts a lot. So sure. I apologize for not being able to, I sound weird or for not being able to remember things very well right now.
Oh, you're good, man.
But the idea that, okay, him saying that the squid is stupid is fucking stupid. Like, that's a joke. The squid does look stupid, but
Right, but it didn't have to look stupid on the big screen.
That's what I was going to say.
The same thing and just change the look of it.
You already have changed it to such a darker, quieter tone. You could make a monster that probably would look better and be more threatening looking. But I thought, well, if you see that it's killable, why would you be afraid of it? Because Dr. Manhattan exists and now he has his humanity back. If one of them comes down, he could just turn it into ashes immediately. So there's no threat if Dr. Manhattan is around. Well, he's gone in the beginning there, but he's still there at the end.
Right, but at that point in the movie, as far as Earth is concerned, he's gone. He disappeared. Everyone says he hasn't been seen. He's completely out of the picture. In the book, in the graphic novel, he comes back and does all the same, not all the same things because it's a different setup, but basically does all the same stuff at Ozymandias' place. But he, rather than attacking him, basically just sees what he's done and says, oh, this is wrong, but he's right. For me to step in now and do anything else would be threatening. I mean, he's achieved a version of peace. So he does exactly what he says he's going to do in the movie. I'm going to fuck off to another galaxy and I'm going to no longer be part of this because I'm more of a problem than anything. It's the same situation.
But the part that was... Oh, go ahead.
The movie paints him as an American asset.
Right.
The Soviets believe that he is working with them. They have zero.
I remember the other part now.
He has suddenly turned on them.
The part that I was going to give you was the opposite of it. Because I think that, again, for what the characters know in the comic book version, what the characters know at the time is that he has come back at the end of this attack. He's there on Earth again with her. They could assume that he is helping. I don't know. That's not what I was thinking. What I was thinking is the opposite of it. If it is Dr. Manhattan that is the one that does it, why would anyone unite to fight him? Because how could you fight him? He's a god.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
On the one hand, I feel like, well, then the creature's too weak. And now on the other, I thought, well, the creature's too strong. So that's, and why would everybody be afraid of him? Because he's God. He could literally nuke cities at will. And he nukes a bunch of them to put the fear into everybody. And I think it's very believable that everybody would basically try to be nice. It's the old Twilight Zone thing where the parents have to be nice and happy all the time because the kid has special powers and could wipe them out if he wanted to. The same thing. They're so terrified Dr. Manhattan will return because he's so begrudged against humanity that they will do whatever it takes to be peaceful. But again, the thing you said that changed my mind was, but what are you going to do against him? I mean, I guess you could theoretically get your biggest scientists together and think of a weapon to hurt him. And they probably made some comic where that happens. But again, if Dr. Manhattan is watching you, he could just blink down to Earth and evaporate you in 2 seconds. Dr. Manhattan is too powerful for his own good. He is ridiculously powerful. Now, I think that makes him very cool and interesting in this film. And I do like the ending that they put in this film, but I think you've convinced me a little bit that done correctly, the comic version would have been very, very good.
It's not.
It's a kaiju.
A lot of times people.
It's a kaiju. Why wouldn't I like a kaiju?
Right. Well, I think that the problem with this argument nowadays is that a lot of people think it's literally just a 1-for-1 swap. Like, it doesn't matter who it was. One thing or another leads to the same thing. But it absolutely matters because, again, Dr. Manhattan is an American asset. The rest of the world believes him to be an American asset. They're already going to be skeptical about the idea that he just randomly waylaid, a huge part of New York. Like, they're going to be looking at that going, well, why the fuck would he do that? Because he is American. He's been working with them. What is it that changed his mind? And what's going to stop him from doing the same thing to us? Why would we go and help them now when their own war asset turned on them? We have no interest in helping them. At the very least, they're going to be neutral about it. But more likely, they're going to be skeptical about it. Not, oh, yes, we must all come together. We should do that. Now, I'll give you this. Had they found a way to make it where it was every major city in the world, 20 of the most major cities were all nuke bombed by Dr. Manhattan at the same time, then there might be something to we should really all
I think that's what they did.
Mad. But they don't give any real credence to that. All we ever see is just Nixon on TV going, "Oh, we have to come together because New York got attacked."
Sure, they don't show like every country kind of doing that, but at least in that one part, they do show like all the different city names. There's like 12 of them, and they're all being bombed at roughly the same time and showing a countdown to when the next one's being bombed. So they do make reference to the fact that it's like all the major cities across the world, I think, that got bombed at the same time.
Yeah, but ultimately what it comes down to is this. The Soviets are concerned about Dr. Manhattan as a thing in and of himself. And remember, that Rorschach journal is coming out one way or another. So ultimately, it's only going to confirm to people that they were right to be worried about Dr. Manhattan. It's not going to be this, we had a neutral entity, something that is killable and something that seems to have come from nowhere. And Dr. Manhattan is gone. He's out of the picture. And then when they find out through Rorschach that, hey, it turns out it was Ozymandias, then that's a totally different situation than, it turns out it was him and he was just faking the Dr. Manhattan thing anyway. Dr. Manhattan is still probably on the side of the Americans. It paints it in a completely different light. It's not just a one-to-one.
That's true. Yeah, no, it kind of creates a different ending depending on how you look at it, changes the meaning. Once again, can we do the review now because it's an hour?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And unfortunately, Hunter gets to go first. This on this show we follow a 5.1.
No.
Yeah,
no,
because this is technically next week.
Yeah.
Unless you want me to go first, you can play that card again.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
We follow a 5-point system. So 2 thumbs up, you love it. 1 up, you like it. 1 up, 1 down, you don't like it, or you're neutral or indifferent. And you explain why. 1 down, which reason. 1 down, you don't like it, and 2 down, you hate it. The last 2 hates, just double across the board, is still Alien Resurrection. And I promise you that will not happen tonight. Spoiler alert from me. So no matter what he says, know that it can't hurt you anymore, baby. You're free now. So Hunter, you go first, my friend.
All right. Do you want the actual thing, or do you want me to talk about it first? Which
one would be better? I like to
rip
hear
the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, I like to hear your reasoning.
Okay, I'll give the reasoning and then I'll give the actual thing here. I said this earlier, and this is maybe the best summation I can give of this. It is very clear that this is attempting to be, in a lot of ways, not a one-to-one, but like as close to it gets one-to-one adaptation of the graphic novel visually. And again, I think it is important that we reference this based on its source material, because that's the only reason it exists. This isn't a movie that just came out of thin air. It's critical that we talk about where it came from and how it got there in the first place. To me, the biggest problem in this movie is Zack Snyder. And I'm not trying to be one of those just like jump on the bandwagon of fuck Zack Snyder and all that, but like, it's so clear to me that he just does not understand what the point of this story is supposed to be. Not movie, because his movie has a point. It's just a different point than the original story. But that's the problem. All the rough edges of the characters are sanded back a bit. Like they're still edgy, but not in the way that they're kind of supposed to be. The super objectivist type characters. He doesn't see them that way. He doesn't see them as satire. He sees them as again, legitimate characters. We talked about how different the ending is and how changing it is to the whole theme of the whole idea. It's so much gratuitous violence and sex that does not exist in the original. When those things are there, it's meant to show you, importantly, this is something we didn't talk about during the actual review. No one in this movie, except for Dr. Manhattan, has superpowers.
Right.
It's really important that we nail that down. These people call themselves superheroes, or some people call them superheroes. Dr. Manhattan is the only one who actually has preternatural powers.
Right.
But that's hard to understand in the movie when you've got Dan Dreiberg and Silk Spectre just the shit out of people walls. Left, right, breaking arms and flying up. It's crazy.
I thought that too, and especially the very beginning when the comedian punches at him and he punches through his wall, and it's like brick.
Yeah. I mean, look, you got ahead of me there, but let's talk about that for a second, because this goes right into my review there. Zack Snyder films this opening sequence of someone attacking the comedian in his hotel, his apartment, and killing him, and it's mysterious. Who did it? We don't know. In the graphic novel, because it's not playing out real time, it's playing out over panels and all that, we literally don't know. We don't see this person. It could be anybody for all we know. The way it's filmed in the movie, you immediately, once you start meeting these characters, go, well, it's got to be one of those superhero guys, right? Because nobody else is punching through fucking walls. And this 40-minute fight sequence of back and forth train, I understand that that's what superhero movies were at the time. That's exactly why it was the wrong decision to have a guy who's going to film a movie of the time at this time like this. Because if the idea was that you were going to shift it so that it was a little bit of a satirical look, a send up kind of superhero movies at the time, you could do that, but you can't stray so far away from the source material that it no longer feels like Watchmen. You're at a catch-22 at that point. You're not going to be able to win in either direction there. Again, the fact that we're just casting the stars of the day. Patrick Wilson's an incredible actor. He's not Dan Dryberg. Dan Dryberg is supposed to be older, not particularly in shape. Patrick Wilson, I hesitate to talk too much about how a person looks versus their character, but it is important that Dan doesn't look the way that Patrick Wilson does. They tried to give him like a little bit of a comb over.
The hair was messy. Yeah.
Sure. But, and then we're supposed to believe that like Silk Spectre is out of shape. And what's Mullen acronym in this movie? Like 28 at most.
So, I mean, weirdly enough, I looked this up because I thought, oh, here we go again with that fun old, the older guy with the younger girl, and they're trying to make it seem like it's okay, like in Phantom of the Opera with, Patrick Wilson. Yeah. And turns out in this one, they're only about, I think, 3 or 4 years apart from each other in real life. So I thought,
right, but thank God. Are they like in their 20s? Because it feels like it.
Late 20s to early 30s. I think late 20s.
Okay.
Both of them, which shocked me because I always assumed that Malin Ackerman was like 17 when this came out because she looks incredibly young.
She was 30, but yeah, they make her look significantly younger. And like even where Dan already doesn't look like Dan, she also doesn't look like, again, she's in any way like not prepared to go out and do the things that they're doing. It just, all of this is going back to the thing I was saying earlier of just like the way Zack Snyder chose to shoot this movie is absolutely baffling to me. I do not in any way understand the choices that he's made in terms of the thing itself, other than just what you said at the top of the show, the Zack Snyder style. It's going to be slow motion, gratuitous action, which to me is just total anathema to what this story is supposed to be. It just takes away from so much of what it's supposed to be like that. I liked this movie when I saw it when I was younger, and I think it was probably just like, again, it's kind of edgy and it's superhero stuff, and it's an interesting look at what a world of, bad superheroes could be like. But when you know what it could be versus what it is, it affects it in a big way for me. Maybe the most concise point I can make on that I haven't touched on yet. If you had never read this story, but you're watching this movie and you don't know that Ozymandias is the villain from the first fucking time you meet him, I don't know what to tell you, man. Ozymandias is constantly shown looking out windows.
He's
looking
very
down
mysterious,
his nose at other
Hunter.
People. Yes, he's like
very
cloaked
mysterious.
in shadow.
Yeah.
He's kind of an asshole. I mean, even watching this day, knowing what was going to happen when he says that, like, he's got a cyanide capsule in his tea. I was like, oh, the fuck, he doesn't. You're putting your hand over his mouth to cover. Like, even if I didn't know that, I feel like I would know that. That to me,
I didn't get that the first time. Won't lie to you.
I probably didn't either.
The first time, it's super obvious
I don't know
now.
how you could.
Right. One, because he announces he's got a suicide caplet.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
sold it for me, honestly.
Oh man. So here's the thing. At the end of the day,
yes.
At the end of the day, it is still. I cannot call it a faithful adaptation, because faithful adaptation would understand, the themes and the characters and all that. I'm settling on one down because I don't hate this movie. And if I had to sit through it again, I could sit through it again. I could do that. But after watching it today, and after, finally seeing it with like a different palette other than just, I don't know what this is about, let's go into it and see what's happening. The whole time I was like, man, this is a lot of choices that I think were the wrong ones. And almost all of them come back to the way that it is shot and the way it's directed. So I'm putting this squarely on the shoulders of Zack Snyder. I'm just going to say that.
Stay tuned tomorrow,
which I
for
know
Batman
does not bode well for me
Superman.
tomorrow, right?
But at least the violence in that one.
Wrong.
Well, the violence isn't nearly as gratuitous because it's DC. There's no sex.
DC, they weren't let him. Well, this is DC too, to be fair. It's just.
Well, that's true. Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to disappoint.
Material. That's the difference.
I hate to disappoint everybody out there, but this is not going to be the biggest discrepancy I think we've ever had in a review. I was going to go 2 up because I love this movie, but I'm going to settle on 1 up. So we're just on opposite sides here. Some of the things you said are absolutely true, and I can't deny them. especially in terms of the tone of the story and realizing what the story is actually about. And I think there's some wooden acting in parts and some stuff that is a little more baffling that I didn't think about, and it doesn't bother me a lot. But talking about it, well, everybody that's a superhero fights like goddamn demons, and everybody that is human doesn't. But it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
I just thought, wow, they're really good at what they do. So there's things I don't like. What I did like, I do like the Zack Snyder visual style. God forgive me. It's always intrigued me how everything can be so slow. Like, what would the runtime be if they took out all the slow motion shots, just kept them normal pace? This would have been a 2-hour film.
I did see somebody point out if he wanted this runtime, he should have cut all that slow motion shit, and then you could have put everything you cut from the comic back in.
Yeah. But I do like his visual style. It's very unique. I mean, you could look at this in any other comic book film. If you showed me a Marvel film, most any of them, except for a few, and said, and I didn't know the directors, like we know them, and you said, who directed this film? I would go, I don't know. It could be any number of really talented people because they all do great films. But this film, man, there's no denying when you look at it, well, that's a Snyder film. It's so moody. It's so dark and grim. And I like that. That's a style that I appreciate. I like the story of the film, the whodunit. I even though I don't like Rorschach as a person, I love his character and the fact that he's so devoted to these things to a fault. And that's part of the personality they talk about with him, is that he never wavers. He has this weird ethic code, like you said. I thought the political intrigue was good. I always love a good historical superhero film. So there's a lot that I absolutely love, and I still love this movie. I do. But it's kind of like Phantom of the Opera, where I think if you love something, you can look at it honestly. And with the problems I already had with it that I just kind of overlooked, and the stuff that you really kind of turned me on to tonight, I'm going to settle on one. I think it's a fun adaptation. I think it's not fun in the sense that you're smiling. It's spirited, I'll say. If you like a darker, grimmer, bloodier superhero movie, this is an adult film. You will like it, but it does miss the mark in what the original stood for. And you're absolutely right there. Can't deny that. So that's where I'm settling.
That's fair.
What happens in the end? Well, realizing the logic of Veidt's master plan, the Watchmen agree to keep the secret, except for Rorschach, whom Manhattan reluctantly kills to preserve the new global peace. And again, that ending scene there, Jackie Earle Haley is too good. He takes the mask off and the kind of whimpering and the do it. And even though I thought it was well done, it kind of makes his character sympathetic. And now you've got a sympathetic racist, a sympathetic homophobe. Part of why I'm saying all this is someone give him better material. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. No. I was just gonna say it's admiration for, like, you use the word uncompromising. Yeah, that's what an anti-hero is, right? And that's why you admire them. He is resolute. He will not back down. This is not the right way to do it. And the book makes it a lot clearer that this guy is dangerous. He's obsessive. He's a sociopath. And his desire for everyone to know the truth is what's going to fuck everything up after a while. It's not wrong that, what Adrian did was wrong in killing people. It's already done. There's nothing that can be done about it. Right. It's not being blamed on a person or a real entity or anything for that matter. He blamed it on something that really isn't real, and no one ever has to know that. It's already done. There's really no need to do what's being done there. That's how it should be treated, in that this guy's as dangerous as Adrian Veidt is, just on two ends of the spectrum. Instead, the movie goes, nope, Veidt's the bad guy, Rorschach's the good guy, and it's a bleak ending. And you go,
And it is. It is a bleak ending. Manhattan departs permanently for another galaxy while Dryberg rebukes Veidt's moral sacrifice, and Jupiter finally comes to terms with her parentage. And again, it's not just, I'm going into Alex Jones mode. It's not just this film. It's just the idea of Dr. Manhattan, the loneliness, the self isolation. I don't know why. I've always felt like a connection with Dr. Manhattan and he wants to be human, but every day he feels like he's losing his humanity more and more. There are a lot of days I feel like that, and the medication doesn't do as much as it says it's supposed to. So maybe I see a lot of myself in the character. Now, what I would trade that for, I would trade all of the sadness for the abs. I'd really like the abs and and throw in the penis. Why not? It's a holiday.
It's a holiday.
It's a holiday. A New York tabloid editor discusses that there is no war to report on, tells a staff member to choose something from the crank file, which contains Rorschach's journal. And they actually did, we'll get to that in the epilogue here. The ending's fine. It's pretty much the same between both versions, other than just how we got there, and you come to the same conclusion of someone's going to open that journal and figure out what Rorschach was writing. Yeah. But they did follow this up.
Could have been.
What's that?
In some of our trivia here, this is fun.
Okay.
So Sam Hamm, who is one of the guys who wrote the original Batman movie, the '89 Batman movie. I'm sorry, Zach pointed out it is not the original Batman movie. That was from the '60s.
That's true.
But the one we reviewed earlier this month, Sam Hamm wrote an original draft of the script that was way more different even than what we got here, including, buckle up for this, Adrian Veidt's plan to change the world was going to be that he would travel back in time and assassinate John Osterman with a sniper rifle before he ever became Dr. Manhattan.
Okay.
Along the way, Manhattan actually kills Adrian, so Veidt is dead. Then Manhattan himself goes back to the past and kills himself before he becomes Dr. Manhattan. So basically that happens anyway. I guess he was like, well, no, you can't do that to me, but I'm going to fucking do it to me. This causes a rift in time and space that sucks Laurie, Dan, and Rorschach into an alternate dimension where they find out they are characters in a comic book, and they decide to pick up crime fighting again.
That's a bad ending. That's a bad
so
ending.
Dumb. It's so stupid.
I love the idea
that's such a Twilight Zone type thing.
Like, Dr. Manhattan
like a
goes,
bad episode.
He goes back in time and kills himself before he becomes Dr. Manhattan. But if that happens, Hunter, how does he go back in time?
That's the rift in time
Answer
and space.
that.
But my favorite part of it is Veidt's like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back in time and kill him before he becomes Dr. Manhattan. Then it'll never happen. And Dr. Manhattan's like, fuck you, and kills him. And then he goes, man, you know what I should do? I should go back in time and kill myself before any of this ever happens. Just let Veidt do what he was going to do, man.
He feels so bad. It's like when your child reaches up to hug you and you don't really know who it is, so you slap him really hard, but then you look at him and go, I'm so sorry.
I'll do it myself.
Where does it go from here? Well, there actually is a follow-up to this. There was an HBO show called Watchmen, and I've never watched it, yes. And I kind of want to.
It's very good.
Yeah. They got the absolute best person ever to play Velt in, Jeremy Irons. Jeremy's Iron.
Jeremy's Iron, yeah. Yeah, the show is extremely good. It's 30-something years after the original. It does not use the film. It follows up the book technically, if only because the characters referenced are a little bit different. But for the most part, it is essentially the same idea. But yeah, one of the things that the show gets very right is that sure enough, there are a shit ton of people in the future who worship Rorschach, and guess what? They're a bunch of Klan members. They are white supremacists.
That feels natural. Feels natural.
Yeah, the New Frontiersman newspaper where he drops off his journal that he references reading, it's a far right publication.
Yes.
Like it's basically Newsmax.
Boys, they would have loved that movie nowadays.
Oh man. Yeah.
Rorschach would be the number one costume at Hot Topic this year.
I don't know. They'd still find a way to say he was woke.
I don't see how. Other than he doesn't support murder. Well, he does. I guess mass murder? I don't know. Oh, I know. He loves the truth. He can only be honest. They hate that shit over there. Anyway.
There's the problem.
So where would we take this stuff? I would just watch Dr. Manhattan's perfectly carved buttocks live from Mars, and I would be in paradise. I wouldn't care about what happened to Earth either. I've got nothing to add to it. The one thing about historical drama, superhero stuff, is I think you can only do it one time. X-Men tried to do it too many times with the First Class and then later films, and eventually stops being cute. So I think if you would have said another Watchmen story during movie-wise, directed by Zack Snyder specifically, it just wouldn't work. If the TV show does it, it probably works better because, you know, you had more time to flesh it out or spread it out. And also you don't have a director like Zack Snyder showing you his vision. I really like Justice League. Remember that. It's a different film.
I gotta watch it all day tomorrow. Am I watching there's like a black and white one, right? Is that what I'm watching?
I was going to talk to you. That's what I was going to talk to you about after the show. Okay. We'll figure it out, guys.
Okay.
But that's all I got.
So to me, this is one of those stories where it's a really interesting look at the original intention of this show, going back to Evil Dead Rise. The whole, not like what would a sequel be or what happens after that, but literally what happens after this movie.
Yeah.
Right, because remember, the movie ends with the guy going to the crank file to get Rorschach's journal. So realistically, one of two things happens. He reads it and goes, this is bullshit, and throws it away. Or, you know, they publish it and no one cares because no one believes them. Or, the more interesting version, that thing takes off, which I think is basically what the HBO series is based on, if I remember correctly. That's how Adrian Veidt ends up in a completely fucked up situation. Because people find out that he was responsible. Like they believe this is the case, and he gets held responsible for his shit. That's going to change the way that the peace talks are handled, right? There aren't going to be any fucking peace talks because they're going to go, oh, that didn't really happen. And now it seems like maybe you were trying to trick us with Dr. Manhattan, and he really did blow up a bunch of places all over the world. So you were willing to sacrifice some of your own people to get a stealth attack in around the world. I mean, that to me is a far more
dark
potential story. Yes. I mean, I still think it's better when we're working from a neutral ground situation because as it is, it's just going to restore the status quo. But from the other side of things, if the story starts to take off that, hey, that alien attack on New York, none of that shit happened. Ironically, going back then to the end of the Avengers where,
they didn't pay for that damage.
News reports, Stan fucking Lee went superheroes in New York. Yeah. Like, I mean, I know it's not really Stan Lee, it's just a character, but that there were people, and this happens in the MCU as it goes through, that go, you know, it was a false flag attack. It was coordinated by the government. It was orchestrated by a hostile government. It was never as real as people say it was. Like, major events like that are going to be viewed from a totally different lens through a bunch of different people.
I was going to say, I hate the trope of superhero good all the time. Some people still go, they're a menace and needs to be stopped. Like, there's no way in hell anyone would look at Spider-Man and go, you're the bad guy. No one believes that. Right. But, you know...
Well, that's why it's fun that Jonah does it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we talked about this during Spider-Man. It's fun that Jonah does it because we know he doesn't believe it. It just sells papers. Yeah. Because nobody knows really who he is or what he does. There are people who are concerned that he won't show his face, so they don't trust him. So Jonah just capitalizes on it. Hero or menace, you know, well, if he's done bad by you, you're willing to believe the latter. And it's just, you know, it's not great journalistic integrity. You know, he does practice that when he protects his sources. It's not really great that he intentionally lies, but this is also the guy who literally said, you know, that's slander in print. It's libel. Like he's had to go to court for that a couple times. Probably.
But I think it works better in the Avengers because you have a giant Hulk monster. You have
destruction.
Yeah, but with the other film, it's just Dr. Manhattan. He's the only one like him. So having him exist at all, I think, is a problem. And he goes into the comics, doesn't he? Like, he actually appears in later Batman comics. Like, there's like a crossover.
Yeah, there's a DC.
Alan Moore's rolling around in his grave.
He has disavowed all of this shit, by the way. He never wanted anything of his filmed.
He's never watched any of his own stuff. Yep.
He wants his name
famously asshole-ish. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, yes, but at the same time, I could understand that if you had a really clear vision of the way something was supposed to go, and someone adapted it in a way that was, I mean, this is pretty far off base in terms of thematics. Then you might go, no, man, that's not what I ever wanted, and unfortunately, I can't do anything about it.
And it doesn't matter. This is not like evidence against him or anything, but Alan Moore has also talked a lot about how comics are stupid and they're for kids, and adults shouldn't care about them. He's just kind of he's a cranky old Dodger.
That's pretty much what it comes down to. Yeah, you're not wrong. It's just, that's not great.
All right. We got through 2 in one day. I'm very proud of us. And now I'd like to end this experiment. Yes. because tomorrow it's an all day affair when it's the Justice League Snyder cut, and I would watch the black and white version. Jack Kleider. He did some great work in the 90s. The black and white version is more interesting because it's not just black and white. It's black, but there's hints of color. It's a very striking look, and it feels very much like a comic book. So watch that one because the color's fine, but it's, the Zack Snyder style, that muted color.
Sure.
If you watch the other version, it at least feels artistic. So
okay,
we'll do that.
I'm here for that. I'm taking your lead on this one.
Yes.
I saw the Whedon version, the one that was in theaters, but that's it.
I saw it twice because that was during the time when Lindsay and Allie couldn't stand each other. So I watched it once with one, and then the second time with the other one, and went, Jesus Christ, that's too much Justice League. That's too much Justice League at one time.
It's a lot of League.
Yeah, but this film is about 7 hours long, so we'll see you then.
Yeah.
We'll be back tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Until the balcony is closed, Double H, take us out.
I am looking at the stars. They're so far away, and their light takes so long to reach us. All we ever see of stars is their old photographs.